Okay, it is 6 o'clock and we are ready to go. I'll call the meeting to order.
Okay.
The first item on the agenda, 2.0, is adoption of the agenda, and we do have an addendum. So I accept a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Motion by Joanne,
I'll second it.
second by Olivia. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries 7-0. 3.0 is approve the minutes for June 17, June 18, and June 24. Motion to approve. Someone?
Motion to approve all 3 minutes.
Motion by David,
I'll second it.
second by Olivia. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries 7-0. Hearing request from citizens. Only thing we have is a special presentation from Jim from the Economic Development. So Jim, you're up.
First of all, thank you very much for taking the time to let me meet with you tonight. I'm here to talk about the Neighborhood Revitalization Program. In the past, I came and I spoke to this commission or this board about the one that was created for 59 and 400 specifically. This is not that one. That one is doing well, and actually I think you've seen some growth out of that, so we want to say that the plan's working. This is one that's been in place. I wasn't around for its origin, but this would be the third time it's being renewed. And basically, it is the central portion of the city of Parsons. Stretches from east to west, north to north, and then south to the line. It does not include property that's in the floodplain, and it does not obviously include property that's in the other one that's created. You can't, double up on these programs. We realized that we made a mistake the last time when we went and did the 59-400 intersection one. We came and asked for approval to a document. This has to be approved by all 5 taxing entities, yourselves, county, LCC, city, and 506. So all 5 taxing entities will join on this, we hope. What this does is offers property tax abatement for increased value. So it's not taking any current taxes that are coming in away. What happens is somebody comes along and wants to rehab their house, put an addition on that creates added value to the property. The property is reassessed, then whatever they pay above what they had before is rebated for the course of the program. There is one small change from what we've had in place for the last 10 years. And this is based on discussion and case study, and I have a realistic explanation and dollars and cents, if you'd like. We can go into that deeper. What we're asking for is anyone who applies for this and receives it, meets the minimum, that they receive, if they're a commercial entity, so commercial or industrial, would receive a 10-year abatement, where residential would stay the way it has been and receive a 5-year rebatement. This was part of the negotiations when I was speaking with the county. You may have read about it in the newspaper, but this is the document that's kind of come out of the city and the county commissions, and you are my first stop in the other entities that need to sign on board. What we hope to do is get feedback from all the other boards and then come up with a document that when I come back, you're comfortable with, you had input on, questions have been able to be asked. That way, in the past, what we found is, 2 entities approved it, the third entity had a small change, but technically the first 2 had approved something, so we had to make the circle again. So here tonight, I don't believe that we'll be requesting action, but we would like to have input from you guys, what you feel, what you think this plan maybe needs, doesn't need. Then I can take that back, and that way when we come back and request action, it'll be a plan that everybody's basically agreed to fundamentally. If there are any questions, or if I've missed out on anything, this does include 5% admin fee that goes back to the county for the paperwork they do. And here's something that we're trying to do. When I came out of the county commission meeting, I've already spoke with the city of Oswego. We're trying to get all of the neighborhood revitalization programs on this, trying to get as close to this as we can. That way there's no competitive advantage, so that I can equally represent the county. Like an example, I'll use Great Plains as an example. If an industry were thinking of coming to Great Plains needs to turn actually a profit on their land to keep the entity still viable. That puts them at a disadvantage when dealing with just any other land. So What we'd like to do is get some of these around, not only the smaller towns in the county, but within Parsons, and I'm fairly confident, and the commission has told me they would be willing to look at a county-wide unincorporated economic development plan just like this. That allows us to compete county-wide against other counties that already have these things in place. So that's what I'm here for, is a start. Once we get this, and we feel that it'll be a great litmus test going to all 5 taxing entities, getting feedback. Once we get this down, we'll look to provide the county legal department with the outline of what we're doing, so they can look at that for unincorporated areas in the county. Put us on the same playing field so that we can, well, we're not only competing, first and foremost, we have to compete against other counties. To do that equally within the county, we want to have equal playing field across the board. I shouldn't have an uneven playing field to promote one piece of property over the other. So now that we're working, Great Plains, the county, and the city are all working under one umbrella, we want to make sure that we're making it competitively equal across the board. So that whatever we come up with through this process will be presented to the county for that approval. With that, I'd really be open for questions.
Are there any major, compared to the past ones that we've approved, other than the increase to 10% for commercial, are there any other material differences between past neighborhood revitalization?
No, we've taken a look at the map, and there were times when the portions of it were zigzaggy, and okay, this is a brand new subdivision, they're not in it.
Okay.
We've kind of rounded those off just so it doesn't look. We've actually had comments back from the Attorney General's office of, okay, here's why did you not include this? Why did you include this? The only thing that we're excluding now would be floodplain and obviously the double, but no, other than the change on the commercial, nothing major changes in the document.
Okay.
Or the application procedure. We've actually streamlined the application procedure. We're going to take this opportunity. There were just some things that we asked some of the people who had come in, hey, how'd you fill this out? And, well, I checked the box, but I didn't know. And now we've really spelled it out.
Okay.
Residential, commercial, completely different.
Okay.
Yeah.
So in a nutshell, it's 10 years, 10% for commercial, 5% for residential?
No, it's 10 years for commercial at 100% minus the 5 ad,
Okay.
and then 5 years for residential at 100% minus the 5 admin fee. We have tried to make this as straightforward as possible, so that there's no confusion. Not only in the past it was 10% paid back, 90% rebated, minus 5% admin fee. I can't imagine doing the bookkeeping for something like that, and we were trying to make it simplistic. That was part of the conversation with the county commission. When we were doing the 59,400, we tried to do the same thing, making big block numbers. Now, a lot of neighborhood revitalizations in other states, they're called tax increment financing or some other. TIF means a little bit something different here than it does, but what it would mean is year 1, you pay 10% of your taxes. Year 2, you pay 20%, 3, 30, and so on. Others are 5-year plan. Year 1, you pay 20. Year 2, you pay 40. Those become bookkeeping nightmares when you end up with different projects on the same parcel of land. One commercial entity applies 1 year, the next year the next commercial entity applies, but it's the same plot of land. That we're trying to make this as straightforward as possible.
Any other questions? Any questions?
When do you estimate we'll have a draft?
I'm hoping by next month. This runs out in August of 19. I had hoped to get into college already. I wasn't able to. I was on vacation for a whole week, well out of touch. But I hope by next month I would have a draft that I would be asking for approval of. And then it would look just like what you have in your packets. And accompanied to that would be, I'm sorry, it's known as an interlocal agreement. That's the actual document you sign. That document allows us to put this marketing into place. But it's the interlocal agreement that you sign. And we learned some things last time. Going through it for the first time, I learned some stuff. we're going to make that as streamlined as possible too. Once it's approved, it'll be signed. That one single copy will be taken on to the next entity. They will sign the exact same copy. We thought we could submit 4 different copies, all signed, which we did. Well, we did it last time, but this time the Attorney General had different feelings, so we learned some stuff will change.
Any other questions or comments? Kind of consensus for good?
Yeah. See a draft?
All right, I will come back with this as discussed here. If there are any changes, I'll forward them to you. You can forward them on to that way. We anticipate this going through as is. There was only the one change from 5 to 10, so I appreciate your time on that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Jimmy.
Thank you.
6.0 is report of the superintendent of schools.
Okay. So I've been the superintendent a year now, and last year at the new superintendent's training, they said, oh, this summertime you'll be so busy. And I thought, oh, well, they were right. It has been busy. We've done a lot of things. So in June, the end of June, Amanda and I went to the KASB new clerk and superintendent workshop, which was really, I felt like a good use of our time. We learned all kinds of things about being the clerk of the board and just board meetings in general. They always have informative things. So we did that. Now this week already, high school secretaries and high school principals and the middle school secretaries, they returned to work July 18th. So that is Thursday already. And then next week on the 25th, the elementary principals, they will return then as well. So, and then we blink and it's time for enrollment already. So July the 31st and August the 1st are enrollment. Enrollment's going to be a little different this year than in years past. You know, in years past, if you've had a child, you know, you get a packet of information and every year you fill out the same papers over and over and over. And so, you know, the board did choose to go to the online enrollment. And so Durden Keithley, our district data coordinator, tech person, has been working diligently and has that up and running. So parents will get a letter in the mail. You will get a letter and it will tell you, here's how you enroll. Now, we're still going to have those enrollment days because we still want for folks to come into the school, to turn in their lunch applications. You can get physicals, immunizations, do some of those type of things. But parents will be getting a letter in the mail that'll explain how to do that. And also on enrollment day, we'll have computers set up and tech folks there and secretaries there to help people enroll online. So it really shouldn't take too long. I think it's a move in the right direction. So we've got that coming up. We are going to have new teacher orientation on August the 12th. So that will be a day that we will spend. I think we're going to start with a breakfast in the Chamber of Commerce and then spend the day getting all of our Viking things in order. So teachers return for professional development the 19th of August, 20th and the 21st. And students start back on the 22nd. So, anybody have any questions or anything?
All right, 7.0 is especially the Tri-County Co-op meeting, which was last Wednesday. It was really a organizational meeting. We elected officers, which were the same as we've had in the past. We did all the approval of all of the things we had to approve, the home rule, the dates of the meetings, all of that stuff, plus the KSB recommendation of policies. And that was basically it. It was lengthy, but there was hardly any action taken on anything at all. We are going to have, looks like we have a special meeting the 24th. They've finalized negotiations this afternoon, and we're going to meet to approve that.
I have 2 questions.
Yes, sir.
On page 16, Parsons, at Garfield Parsons, we have a speech therapist, is my understanding, through teletherapy.
Yes.
What is Tri-County trying to do to get live speech therapists?
Everything we can. They're just not out
Well,
there.
give me an example.
Recruiting, going to colleges, offering paras the opportunity to go back to get a degree in that area.
And no one's taken advantage of that?
Not in speech therapy.
And they're willing to pay for the degrees if you make a commitment to stay and work.
They're hard to get.
They are hard to find. So if there's
I'm
anyone
not saying they're not hard to get. I'm just saying, what are we doing to try to get them? And you're saying offering to pay for their master's degrees? Is that what you just said?
It could be just a degree to start with. They may be a para with 60 hours of college credit to help them go back and get that degree, plus then working towards
So you're working through Pitt State to do that, or Emporia,
Where they can.
or?
Pitt State.
Wichita State has a
Wichita State.
has a program.
Okay, as a parent, I'd want a live speech therapist.
Yeah.
The second question is, paraprofessional starting salaries and increase for existing. Do you happen to know what the starting salary is?
That's going to be discussed at the 24th, meeting the 24th.
Well, it's usually around $9 or $10, and for
It's
me,
gonna- it's gonna be-
publicly, I want to say
I will say that our
I've-
plan is to go above that considerably.
to, what's your suggestion?
Well, we talked about 11, but we have to look at once they got negotiations of the teachers, what's left. And so that's on our agenda, will probably be on our agenda the 24th as well.
Because I think most paras in the state are underpaid, as I checked around the
Absolutely.
state. $9 an hour for working with a special needs population. So I just want to go on record saying that
Yeah.
I hope you do increase it
And please don't hold my
significantly.
feet to the fire on 11. Don't hold my feet to the fire on $11. It may be 10, it may be 10.50, but it will, our goal is to work towards getting our paras a livable wage.
I'm with you, Lou. They definitely deserve, I mean,
Exactly.
their work is important and their work is
It is.
hard.
Yes, it is.
Okay, item 8.0 is organizational of the Board of Education, appointment of individuals, and all that good stuff we get to do. The first item is election of a president. Before we move to that, I would like to give you the options that we have, because the state law changed this year. We can extend the terms of the current officers until January, and then vote in January. Or we can vote now, and in January, pass a resolution that says we're going to take care of those items in July every year. So that's our options, really. We can elect now, we can push that to January, and in January, then we would vote to
All right, all new board members come on in January, correct?
That's
They do.
correct.
That is correct.
So my feeling is I would like to go from January to the following January.
I concur.
Me too.
I concur.
Okay, then we just need a
I think
motion.
it makes sense.
So do we want to just push this slate of officers 6 months, or do you want to?
I agree,
I
because
would-
then we'll have a new, board.
I would wait
we'll have
till-
who we have, right?
That's right. If we happen to get a new board member and
Right.
they displace someone who's an
Exactly.
officer, then we're going to vote again.
Exactly. So I would wait
That makes
until,
sense.
extend yours till January. That's just my thought.
Is that a motion?
That, we need a motion.
Yes.
Second.
So-
Motion by Lou, second by, we'll give it to Jeff, I think this time. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
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 Motion carries 7-0, so that takes care of A and B. And C. Does that also,
takes
let's
care of-
let's take a look at the appointment of representative for Tri-County, especially the co-op board. Is anybody here really wanting that position? Seeing none, I will volunteer to continue doing that if you so wish.
Is that something that we can punt till January as well? I mean, if we do
Yes.
have.
We could,
We
yes.
can.
Okay,
That's
if
what
it
I
is,
would
then
do,
why don't we just
Okay,
do
we'll put
all
them
those?
on.
'Cause if we have a new board member, for example, that individual might have an interest. So
Right.
Okay, we're going to put all those to January, the January board meeting.
Okay, and so there is a resolution we'll need you to sign before we leave today.
Mike, has it ever been brought up to, Parsons has to travel the farthest, but having a board meeting by Skype or,
Not in this last year. but
I
I've
never
been
had
there.
enough nerve to bring it up, but.
It's a good idea, though.
It's,
Well, they do
everything
teleconferencing
else.
yeah.
for
and-
speech therapists.
And unless you're the president, to sign things, that's the reason that you have to be there. But, sometimes the weather's bad, so, there's a lot of reasons
Right.
and it,
That's true, too.
it is a commitment. But anyway,
I'll mention that to Emily.
okay.
Yeah, item 8.1 is approval of a lot of items here. Maureen, do you want to run through
Right,
those?
so these are just the consent items for the 1920. The first is the election of the clerk. We'd like for that to be Amanda Riley this year. The deputy clerk would be Miranda, so if Amanda can't come, then Miranda would come. The treasurer, the recommendation would be Tanya Phillips, as in the past. And an attorney, the KASB, legal staff. Location and time of the board meetings, and so that's all right there. You will note it should be 2019, 2020. So 2018,
agenda,
2019, that's just in the agenda. On the next page, here are all the things that have to be appointed each year. Title I, district attendance officers, food service, capers, hearing officers, all of those. I would, the recommendation, those names that are listed. We need to adopt a school year, so that's typically 1,116 hours. The mileage for personal vehicles, of course, we always encourage folks to take district vehicles. Typically, we have adequate coverage for that, but if not, the reimbursement rate has gone up to 58 cents per mile, that's the state reimbursement rate. We'd waive annual requirement for general accepted accounting practices. That's something that's typically done. Rescind any past policies and adopt all new current policies. Copying costs, so if someone needs, open records law, it's a quarter a page. The change here, the current substitute daily rate of pay is $90. It's recommended that daily rate of pay be raised to $100 a day. The district newspaper, that designation would go to the Parsons Sun. The depository for school district funds, that would be Commercial Bank for the 3-year period. Petty cash limits, those are listed there. And then you had mentioned home rule earlier and establishing that home rule. So it's recommended that the consent agenda items be approved.
Any discussion on any of those items?
So hold on, so when you're talking about policies, are you talking about these policies?
No.
No, the big the KASB policies.
Every year you rescind the policies
Right.
that are really not the KSB policies,
No.
kind of the unwritten policies that we have, and you start over.
And then we start
It's
over.
done every year.
It's a standard practice.
Everybody okay with the $100 substitute teacher pay?
I'd even be okay with even slightly larger, but I mean.
I would too.
If we could
Some
increase
week-
the quality of our
It's-
substitute teachers and actually have teachers as opposed to
What do you have in mind?
babysitters.
Do we know what neighboring districts pay, like our competitors?
Typically between 90 and 100.
Okay.
And I do know it's being discussed at other board meetings this month as well, because the superintendent's been asking, how much do you pay, wanting to, because it is hard to find.
Do we have any idea what that $10 increment costs us a year? Any idea?
No.
How many subs do we have a year?
Yeah. that's-
How many subs do we have on the list? We have probably 20 some on the list.
Well, but how many?
But how many days?
Yeah.
Yeah, how many days?
And that
are
we'd
out?
have to figure.
Early in the year, we probably have 10. When it hits the middle, we sometimes have 25, so that would be 250.
A day?
At
A
the
day,
most.
at the most.
And very few days, right, Amanda, do we ever have 0?
Very few. And we do have 2 full-time subs, so they're paid separately.
We'll have 2 this next school year. We already know that.
They're the ones yes. It's the same ones we had last year.
And
Where are
who
the
were they?
permits
I want to know too.
I forgot who they were.
Oh, it's Nancy Kroll and Nancy Heenan.
Oh,
That's who it's been.
So we just take the 100 for now? And raise it. Any questions on any of the other of those group of items there?
I'd be in favor of 110, it wouldn't bother me. That's, depends on our money though.
We would be okay with 110. We could do 110.
that'd be good, maybe it'd
Make
be the
them-
extra to
make them-
get them to come and.
We need, if
Well,
you've
if we
seen
get
some,
1,160
Right.
hours.
it's
is that
pretty
what it
shallow
was?
some
It
days.
is.
Is that what
Shouldn't
our
say
hours
that,
was?
but that's,
Hours.
they struggle.
1,000.
True.
We look for
116
25, it's very,
times
very
10.
shallow.
It is very
Times
difficult
15.
to find
If we
25
average
subs,
15
and there are,
subs a
In
day,
the past,
$10 is
sometimes we've had 3
167,000.
long-term subs or full-time subs. Some years that I've been here, we've had 2 the last
So we
probably
gotta divide that by
5 or 6 years.
so that wasn't that much money.
So that's another option.
So moved to go to
I
110.
would say that, or we don't need another full-time sub.
Let me do
do we?
that. 60.
I'd say road to 110 at least, and look at it.
And then look for
Now,
another
can we
full-time.
up it a semester if we still having problems?
Sure.
But now, does anybody in the area give bonuses if they answer all 5 times or do so many days? There's none of that, is
I
there?
don't know if they do that or not.
'Cause I know in the Shawnee Mission, they did that.
After so many days,
No, after so many days of just, that they took it, or so many Fridays, but maybe we don't have that problem of getting subs on Fridays.
Said they got a bonus if they,
If they would-
Yeah, but maybe that's too technical, so forget
We
that.
might need to look at.
I think we could reasonably anticipate that towards the end of this school year, we may have a problem like that. I can't say.
We always toward the end, they have to cover classes at the high school all the
The
time.
teachers
Well,
have to cover.
February is a real difficult month because you have so much vocational and music. And so that whole month, right, Amanda?
and
But-
sports.
Just spring in general is really busy.
But I would say maybe 2 or 3 days a year our subs just work in a building.
The full-time, so yeah.
The full-time
Full-time
subs,
subs.
so maybe a third full-time sub would,
It would help a lot, especially in the spring. But all year round.
But then, how many days do you say you don't need them?
Maybe 2 or 3.
It's rare.
So then what do? You send them to a building?
They're, right, they're each, the 2 of them that we have now are home-based in a building. So if there's ever a day where they don't sub or they're not assigned someplace, they just report to that building and work.
So they're not in a classroom.
Well, they would be in a classroom with, I mean, they'd
But
go
like
like to
an aide,
Lincoln or
though,
to
but-
Guthridge,
but-
right?
But wouldn't that be better if they were sent to another building instead of just doing aid work? I mean, if we need them that bad, you understand what I mean? No, you mean, so if we only need 1 teacher, 1 sub
Then one
a
of
day,
them,
then 2 of those are gonna go work in a building, and do something, but less than teacher work.
Yeah.
probably, yes.
Could be para.
Could be aid work.
Well, to Roger's point, you said $110. Did I hear you say that?
Yeah.
To his point, I think some of these subs shop around to find a place where they can make more money for the day or days.
I think that's possible.
And that's a good point, in my opinion. I don't know.
I think that's possible.
I don't have enough information.
And they might be more likely to take a
Is
call
that
for
right?
110
Okay.
versus 90.
Right.
$20 on that.
Yeah, I'm good with the 110 as well.
Minimum, see how it goes from there.
I mean, it's,
Any other questions on this? All these? If not, we'll accept the motion to approve with the change to substitute teacher going from 90 to 100.
I'll make a motion to approve with
110.
the friendly amendment to the substitute teacher pay of 110.
I'll second that.
Motion by Jeff, second by Lou. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Pass 7-0.
Hopefully that gets in the paper.
I hope so. And that people are more than, free to call, and we'll get you signed up to sub.
8.2 is set a special meeting to review and approve the 1920 budget for publication. Recommended August the 7th at either 7 a.m. or noon.
So the way this works is we have to publish our budget 10 days prior to our budget hearing. So the next regularly scheduled board meeting is August the 19th. So 10 days prior to that would be August the 9th. So we have to have our budget published in the paper by August the 9th, by that Friday. So if we have our meeting on the 7th, then that afternoon, we have time to make any corrections or changes that you might have, answer any questions, and get it to the newspaper so that it's ready to be in the Friday morning edition. So
What's the date of that other meeting we're having?
August the 19th. We're going to meet earlier that day,
The 19th.
the 19th.
All right.
So Tanya and Linda and I are going to meet up to KSDE to go over the budget that Monday, which is August the 5th. So with Craig Newswander and Dale Dennis. So we'll review the budget that day, and we'd like to have our meeting that Wednesday so we can get things wrapped up and get it in the newspaper.
So we just have to pick a time for this one, 7 or 12.
What do you think, folks?
What's convenient for working people? Either one?
I'm available either time.
Unavailable. Unavailable. Did you say available?
I'm available.
Oh, I thought you said
So
unavailable.
noon's better?
No, I'm just
Oh, you're
unavailable.
gone.
You can't go that
Oh,
day.
Oh, he needs a quorum.
Yeah, Jeff, are you good?
Yeah, I can make it work. I mean, I just prefer 7, so if something comes up in my schedule, I can work and make some money that day, more than I would if I had to break at noon and then go, but I can make noon work if 7 a.m. causes people grief.
Roger? Okay.
I'll go with the flow.
I'm good.
Ms. Lyons, you prefer noon?
I'll be here whenever you schedule the meeting.
Okay.
I might not be happy, but I'll
Be
be
great. Okay, we need a motion to approve the date and time, please, and whoever makes the motion, please state the time.
I'll move for August 7th, 12 noon.
Motion for August 7 at noon. Second?
Second?
Second by Joanne. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries 7-0. 8.3 is action on textbook fees for the school year. And it is recommended by the superintendent that we waive fees for this year. Any discussion?
Hope that gets in the paper.
Yeah, I do too.
And that's, you should have the paper.
Yeah, in your,
Everyone.
you have some information to give it to you, it was in the view, but I think it's also handed out. A lot of stuff here.
It was in the view.
What we have collected in fees the last 3 years, and it has gone down considerably.
And I think part of it too is, last year we had 5 new secretaries. And so the amount of time it takes for a secretary then to go back and try to
Right.
recover that money. And then also oftentimes people would pay their textbook fees, and then it's on a sliding scale depending on a lunch application. So you pay your textbook fee, a lunch application comes back, and then the secretaries are writing you a check and crediting you back and those kinds of things, so.
Well, and like your note said, after the tornado, we didn't charge fees for several years.
For several
And then
years.
we decided to start in again, and
When budgets were really tight.
I think budgets are tight now.
This will help parents out because the cost of just getting supplies.
Exactly.
When you have 3 or 4 kids.
Absolutely.
That's pretty expensive.
It is.
So we're making a deal I don't think anyone can refuse.
I would agree. That would be my recommendation.
Make a motion.
Oh, it's so moved.
Motion by Lou, second by,
Second.
David.
Is there a way we can get that to parents, all parents?
We will put, I haven't sent the letter out about enrollment yet because we were waiting until tonight, so that'll go in every parent letter.
so we have a motion by Lou, second by Joanne to waive textbook fees for the 2019-20 school year. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries 7-0. 8.4, action on staff handbook, student parent handbook, bus driver handbook, student parent transportation handbook, classified personnel policy handbook, virtual Viking program student handbook, middle school course description, and safe school plan.
There were a lot of handbooks.
And you received the other day, plus a handout today, those changes that were made following our review last month. What we need is a motion to
Well,
approve.
hold on. First of all, I want to say there's been a lot of hard work put into these handbooks, and I'm really impressed with this bus driver's handbook. Whoever put that together did a great job. I just need a couple of clarifications.
Okay,
One's on cell phones.
right.
Are we
So what we're
saying that
going
we're going to be a school district that basically disallows cell phones for teachers
No.
and students?
No, what you'll notice is on the updates page,
I have noticed. I'm
Okay,
just saying,
that all-
what are we saying? In other words, I've got my cell phone out. I use it during meetings. I use it when I was teaching.
That's a bad example, Lou, use it while you're teaching.
Huh? I missed that.
I mean, I think we have to trust professional judgment, and
Well,
so.
that's a little different than what
and
this says.
Well, this is what was.
What does it say? Read what it says.
Currently, it says, all faculty cell phone policies will be updated to say that staff cell phones are to be out of sight
Not
and
to
turned
be-
to vibrate. Teachers are not to utilize their cell phones in the presence of students or while students are in session.
I like that term, professional judgment.
Right, that was my term, but I just
Yeah.
made that up.
Okay, but
No,
now, who,
this is what's been in the handbook for years and has been approved every year. It just wasn't in every handbook.
Because we're dealing with a huge issue of adults, teachers, kids that are addicted to these things. And just to take it away, I know some school districts are doing it, and I know in college it's a distraction, but in college, either you pass the class or you don't. You want to be on your cell phone playing a game?
Yeah,
So
but
be
we're
it.
not college.
Huh?
We're not college.
No, that's
Yeah.
true.
Well, what I want to know on cell phones, who's going to enforce? Because,
That would be, it would be up to the, I mean, it'd be
Yeah,
up
if
to the
principal sees you,
administration.
you're written up.
To, you know,
but
Or
how
talk-
many,
This has
or
been-
talk to.
but how many are really going to do that? I mean, I've walked in teachers' classrooms, those phones are sitting right there.
and I think there's a difference between a phone sitting right here, because here it is, and there's a difference between me trying to lead a meeting and be the professional, and, oh, I'm gonna check and see what's on Twitter, and, oh, my Instagram just, I mean.
But it says here, out of sight.
Right, and see, this is just the policy that it's been, it just hasn't
Well, I would
been in
go with
every book,
Laura's
so.
professional judgment and
Yeah.
change it to use that terminology. Because like Roger said, how are you going to enforce it?
That's-
And I think it should be encouraged strongly from the principals.
Yes, I agree. And kids, what about kids?
Yeah. Oh,
See, there's a
and
problem with
teachers
the
fight
high
that all the
school
time. Yeah.
with students, test time. They try to use them. It's out there.
It is, so it's just,
It's a
we just have to
discussion that we
manage.
need to have, but we're not going to resolve it tonight. It's a big discussion.
Yeah.
I'd like to hear some
Yeah,
community.
I think we need to talk more about
Site
that
council
because
members.
that's what's going to be the, and some, just like in the classroom.
Yeah.
Some teachers, high school, let them eat in the classroom, bring food in,
I did.
Yeah.
you know, and some don't. Some don't
Some
want it in
don't.
there.
And I think that's, you know, a building
We
decision.
promoted that as a site council at the high school. We promoted that as a site
Yes,
council at the high
exactly.
school.
Your mother wanted to have the kids eat at their,
This
eat
was
at
after my mother passed.
at their desk.
This year.
You
We
know, she
promoted
called me to
that.
her house and said, you know, look at this article in Washington DC
Exactly.
where the kids are able to eat
Exactly.
at their desk when they start the day and so forth.
Exactly.
That was a different concept than all day eating, I guess. But
Well, I'm thinking where I'm coming is where kids come back from lunch and bring food into the classroom.
That's kind of an individual teacher's,
I think it
Yeah.
is.
in most buildings, that's an individual teacher's prerogative to allow it or not to allow it. And basically, it's the same thing in a lot of schools, the same thing with cell phone.
yeah,
Right.
I agree.
Each classroom teacher
Each
says,
classroom
yes,
teacher.
it's,
And that's
you can use it for this purpose.
and not for this purpose, and
And that's professional discretion
you can
or judgment.
plug it in and.
So
So-
under the professional judgment, is it the
Administrator.
administrator's professional judgment? Okay.
It's a two-way street. I think they could have a little debate. If the administrator doesn't, sees a teacher on the phone, may not know exactly, or she may not know exactly what that teacher is doing, so we'd have to have a professional discussion. I would just, personally, I would add that professional discretion and not make it a blanket statement, because then we're asking for stuff that Roger presented. How are you going to enforce it? I don't know.
And so it could just say, staff cell phones are to be turned to vibrate, and teachers are asked to utilize their professional judgment using their cell phone in the presence of students or while classes in session.
I think that's too open-ended. Me personally, I think that cell phones are more of a distraction than they are a benefit in the school setting.
Oh, I agree. I agree
with that too.
I agree.
So based on that, I think I would just leave it as is, and then if you want to put some verbiage that, you know, exceptions can be made with maybe admin approval or something, if
Well,
a
because-
teacher is having to utilize
Yeah.
their phone in a classroom setting for a specific purpose.
And there'll be time that someone's waiting on an emergency call from a doctor's
Right.
office, or mine will blink now because John's in the military and doesn't get to call very often, and I don't want to miss the one time I get to talk to him in 8 weeks, you know, or visit. So, I mean, there's always exceptions.
All right, to use what you said, so it's suggested that teachers are not to use, just to add that, and then at the end of that, professional discretion.
In other words, but put something so we would hope they would keep them out of sight. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, I'm thinking keep them out of sight, you know, students and teachers.
I mean, as
'cause
far
again,
as
And we
phones-
taught for years without
teachers
cell
are different.
phones.
We've got
and somebody
phones.
being able to
We
get
didn't
a
used
hold
to
of us
have
immediately.
phones except down the hall, all the way down the hall in the office.
Yeah, I mean,
Now we've got a phone in every room.
I love my cell phone as much as anybody else, and I know how easy it is to, you know, like, I just put a date on it, and then I noticed I got a message, but I put it back. So you are constantly looking at it if it's there. You are.
Well, if the kids see you have it,
Yeah,
they're
yeah.
going- yeah.
that's my opinion.
Okay, can we can we maybe move on this and have Lori and Linda kind of work on that verbiage and shoot it out to us?
And vote, and,
Well-
Just kind of respond to it?
What David said is perfectly,
yeah.
it makes sense.
Okay. Say it how you want it, David.
Verbatim.
Just like what it says.
I think I would leave it as is, with the exception to, with the administration approval for the use of cell phone.
So you could leave it as it is, and you could say administrators are expected to exercise professional judgment in the enforcement of this policy, or something like that. Because I don't know how you enforce it in any of these
I don't either.
scenarios.
Yeah.
But if you use the administrators are expected to use professional judgment in the enforcement of this policy, then you're giving them some wiggle room if there's an emergency or
Right.
something like that.
But the irony is, how many professional meetings have you been to where the phones are out? Or I've seen teachers' meetings where teachers are out in the audience using their phones.
Sure.
Right, but that's what the policy is, to not to use it in the presence of students or while in classes in session, so.
This is specific to
Well,
students. and
that means you
class.
can go out in the hallway and use it.
So be it. They can do it in 10 minutes.
Or, your planning time.
Yeah.
Did you have some others do? Other questions on other items?
Yes.
Okay.
All right. Graduation requirements. Now, this is something that I've been studying for 7 years because I go to the Youth Crisis Center with the foster care boys. And one of them happened to be on KOM News for the Monday's Child today, JJ, so it was pretty cool.
He's a cutie.
According to Senate Bill 23, we are required to award diplomas by students that request it if they're part of the KDO, the Kansas Department of Corrections, or the Department of Children and Families. We are required to give them the diploma. It's not a shall. And that's 21 units that they need from the state of
Right.
Kansas. That's a state certified diploma.
Right.
My suggestion is, the way we have it worded, students receiving a diploma pre-approved through the administration and Board of Education with fewer than 25 credits will not be allowed to participate in graduation exercises unless approved by building administration.
Right. And
The Board of
unless-
Education has nothing to do with a student that makes the 21 units. That is by law automatic.
If they have the 21 correct units. I mean, you can have 21 units, but there are 21 specific units you have to have in order to graduate. A certain number of English, certain number
Although
of
that's
math.
changing too.
It's
The
Okay.
qualified admissions is changing.
For
Okay.
colleges,
That still doesn't, the 21, they still get the diploma.
right, they get their.
Exactly, that's my point. 21
Right.
21
In
gets your
Parsons-
diploma.
In Parsons, it has been that if you have 21 of the required credits, you get the diploma, but the past practice and policy has been that you had to have the 25 credits in order to walk at graduation. So this policy is the same as it's always been, the exception being that unless approved by building administration.
Well,
which
again, I
allowed
would
them to-
change the wording. and-
Okay.
And just throwing this out there, there's 6 other members besides me. What I would say, instead of saying will not be allowed to participate, I would say may be allowed to participate in graduation activities I'm trying to get that Senate Bill 23 in there, so future board members and future administrators don't have this argument or discussion, so they know in black and white, this is the law, this is what we're going to do, and this is what's suggested by the state of Kansas. So students receiving a diploma may be allowed to participate in graduation activities per Senate Bill 23 guidelines as approved by building administrators. That's all I've changed.
I thought Senate Bill 23 impacted when you got a diploma, not when you participated in graduation.
That is correct.
Well, Senate Bill 23 also goes on to say, I'm glad you mentioned that. Districts, and that's a good point, Jeff. Districts are highly encouraged to allow students to participate in all graduation and senior activities. This is a state-recognized diploma option, and participating students should not be ostracized from graduation and senior activities. We're talking about kids that have been shuffled through the system. I've worked with kids at the shelter that have been to 8 or 10 schools. It's almost impossible for them to get to 25. Some of them try. They're lucky to get to 21, but they've been shuffled through the system. We're not talking about 10 or 15 kids. We're talking about maybe 3 or 4 kids. That's who I'm advocating for. And it's not an automatic for special needs students or special ed students. It's pretty clear in the Senate Bill 23.
Okay, Lou, that's so a student could take 21 units. Now, do you think they should walk any 21 units? Is that what you're saying?
No,
Or the specific?
Lori clarified
20.
that the 21 units that the state of Kansas requires.
Certified, okay.
Yes.
So if you did 21 and you don't meet this qualification, we're not even talking about those students, right? Correct?
Correct.
They don't even get a diploma.
They're not going to even
Yeah.
get a diploma.
Yeah.
This would be
Okay.
the 21 credits in order to get the diploma.
Right.
And the diplomas, when a student has the 21 credits, they get the diploma every time.
They just haven't walked.
They just haven't walked at the graduation.
However, the 2 kids that walked, that had the 21 credits, their grandparents came into town. Those were the proudest kids. They had a cap and gown.
Right.
They had their
That-
picture taken.
Because
I
this
went to
year
the shelter.
we
They had a
haven't
big party for them. I'm not saying they're special privileged characters. I'm saying they are kids that have been given the shaft by the system. That's all I'm saying.
Right, and that
I've
was-
watched it, and I'm an advocate for them.
And I think it's good that we had kids that walked this year. And I think when we're aware of those situations with that line added unless approved by building administration.
Well, I disagree with you,
we're able
Lori. I'm trying to make it much clearer to include Senate Bill 23. That's all I'm trying to do. And I'm trying to make it positive.
Do we need to even reference Senate Bill 23 if this board decides if you get 21 and you get a diploma, you get to walk? Why does Senate Bill 23 even
I would go
matter?
with that.
Okay,
Right.
all right. I just wanted to clarify.
Yeah, that's fine with me.
You're not married to Senate Bill 23.
No, I'm
You
married
just
to
think
it for
that
my debate.
21
21 is enough to walk.
credits, graduation credits, they walk. So there's no distinguishment between walking and getting a diploma.
If you are DCF or adjudicated.
Oh, so what if you're not DCF or adjudicated?
And you just have the 21
See,
credits that you need to
that's where the
graduate.
Senate bill comes in. It makes that parameter for those students only.
Oh,
That was why,
So what about including the others if they have 21?
I don't know if we have that many. I mean,
How many?
I asked that
That's-
question.
And the high school staff, the secretaries aren't back on duty to pull that information, the counselors, to know exactly how many students. I know that there were 2 last year that had 21 credits and that were both in the system, and we did have them participate.
The caveat is,
in graduation.
as approved by building administration.
But we also had 2 that did not walk.
Right, and they didn't have the 21
They got their
necessary.
degree, they got their diploma the next day
Right.
after
Well,
graduation.
they didn't have the 21 credits in the specific areas that they needed in order. What happens is when we have a kid that takes a community college class, and then we don't know how they're doing, we can't have access to that. If they've taken the English classes or the math classes, and they have to have that additional math or English credit to graduate, and they don't do the coursework and they fail at the college, then they've not earned the high school credit as well, which means, so then they don't have the 21 required credits. They may have more than 21 credits, but not all the
I see,
required
okay.
credits.
So that's where that-
High
So
school
that's what
principal
happened this year.
Eric Swanson said exactly what Jeff said. They don't make a big deal out of it in Western Kansas. 21 credits, walk.
I
Exactly.
thought we had this conversation.
Oh, we did. It was only,
When I was
it
on the
wasn't,
board before, it
Number of
wasn't
years.
even.
And I thought they
This has
walked
been
if
an
they
issue
walk-
since I've been
if they
on the
go.
board before.
But since I've been on, haven't we done it, Jeff? Haven't we talked? And
we've talked about it before, I just don't know.
what did LaShawn, we had a Taylor, I
We're
mean,
supposed to have these
But no actions.
support
No action.
people
Okay,
there, but
I thought we did. I thought
they missed
they
these
can-
2.
Because LaShawn came and talked to us one
So-
night, and his, yeah, so.
So, Olivia, the two that you're referring to, so is that because they did not pass their community college classes? Oh, you don't know?
I don't.
But you think one of
But the
them?
next day, they got their diploma. They didn't get to walk on Sunday, but Monday, they got their diploma.
So if they got their diploma, then even if they,
Well, and the trouble is then
That I
again,
know
when
for a fact.
we have graduation on a Sunday and things have to be turned in with the college schedules, and if the colleges have turned in their preliminary numbers, their preliminary grades,
what can we
And
make
so-
get that, so there isn't that problem?
and, well, that would be some, I don't know, I'm not sure, I wasn't,
Well, a bigger question, Dr. Watson, the Department of Education guru, said he goes around to schools last year and asks principals, why do you have 25 units to graduate? That's the bigger question. Why? Because you go back in the 80s, early 80s, it was only 17. Of course, you only had 6 periods at the time. And then Nation at Risk came in the 80s, and then boards just piled more courses on, went to 7 periods. So that's another question for another
yeah, but
day.
it is 21 credits to graduate, but this board put into effect years ago, a number of years ago, that it would, 21 to graduate, because that is Senate Bill 23, but it's 25 to walk. And so
Well, I'm asking that it be changed.
that, I agree, that's,
Clarify, you changed it, but I was hoping that we would clarify it so there won't be this discussion later on.
Well, if you just say you have to have 21, then
You have to have 21 credits that get you a
21
diploma,
required.
not 21. And then you walk.
Required or whatever it's.
There's no
Required.
dichotomy between the two. You get a diploma, you walk. That simplifies it a lot
It
easier.
does, and I would go with that.
So if we would say 21, and a student worked his or her schedule, they could graduate in 3 years.
And we have had that.
In theory. In theory, they could, if their schedule worked out, so they get 2 English classes in a year.
Correct, that's 7 credits a year.
Yeah. I knew Sarah did that a long time ago, didn't she?
I don't know if we'd be doing them a favor by doing that.
Well, I was trying to be a little more cautious.
Yeah.
That's why.
Right, and usually I don't
guess
think
if they-
that's going to
with
be
the dual
the,
credit,
not-
yeah.
No,
that-
it's-
that's
It'd
not
be the
going to
nice
be your,
system, yeah.
happening a lot.
No,
If it would be, it might be a kid who's on an accelerated track maybe, but.
Okay, how do we want to change? Do you have any idea on the wording of that? Straight 21? Is it straight 21 for anybody?
I don't know why we make a distinction for anybody. It's just, if you get a diploma, then you walk. Or we maintain a policy like we've always had. I don't know why it was started that way.
I was
I think it was back when they changed the CASHA policy too.
Yes.
They wanted a stricter, they wanted, trying to encourage.
Higher requirements.
Higher requirements with the grades, with the courses. But it was also before when we had an influx of students that
Come to the
BCF
system.
and the court system, it's difficult.
And like a lot, the kids don't know who has 21, 25.
And what we're trying to encourage is
Right,
high school
is
diploma.
success, yeah.
Accredited
Yeah.
high school diploma,
Right.
not a GED.
Right.
So it says,
So I think I'm hearing, we would say 21 units for credit required for graduation and participation commencement. A student must have paid all debts and finished the year in good standing. Period.
Is that specific enough on the 21 credits that are necessary, the current policy for graduation? If it is, then we could say,
21 credits sanctioned by the state, or,
whatever it is.
Yeah.
So many
Well,
units of
you
math,
say-
science, whatever.
Yeah, whatever those are.
It's 4 units of English, 3 units of history and government, 3 units of
You want the
science,
state
3
of
units
Kansas
math.
graduation requirements, which is very specific. Is that what you're saying?
So you better put those in there then, correct?
Yeah, it's in there.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I have those. Yeah, that's the sheet I gave you.
Then I have one other question
Okay.
about the same thing.
Okay.
It says, must have paid all debts.
I would assume that's an outstanding lunch bill or maybe a library book that's been lost.
I don't know that you can withhold a diploma, can you?
You know, and they're not saying withholding a diploma. I think they're saying participation
All
in
right, so I want to
commencement.
make sure that's clear too, because
So we're saying all debts must be paid before they can walk. I agree with that.
they can graduate
Right,
without
they'll
having
still-
paid the
right.
debts
They'll still get a
or
diploma.
receive a diploma.
They will still receive a diploma. It's just the participation in the
All
commencement
right, I
exercises.
just want to be careful that we don't get,
So your language,
So,
if
we'll need to-
I hear what Lou's saying and so forth, would be, you get the 21 credits, you get a diploma, and you get to walk, provided that you have paid your debts, yada, yada.
And you're a student in good standing.
Yeah.
And what we can do is, if you'd like to, we can go ahead and approve all of the other changes to the handbook and the exceptions with the cell phone and the graduation things. Those can be things that the next couple days I can tweak, and then when we meet back in August, on August the 7th, that could be a really good action item.
I think that's probably good.
Otherwise, we can-
Sometime discuss this.
Sit here.
Sounds good.
Any others? Anyone else?
what are the consequences for vaping, by the way, which is now another big problem schools are having?
Okay, and so we've added that to the smoking and the tobacco section. So the same policy would be in place. We've just added vaping to that as well. So the consequences for having, smokeless tobacco or smoking on school property would be the same. Vaping would have the same consequences as that. We've added that to those sections in the student handbook.
That is, vaping is becoming a
Addiction.
significant issue.
It is. KSB is having a special presentation on it next week or two, so
And one more question, I'm finished. The bullying policy includes cyberbullying?
it does.
Okay, I'm done.
Any others? Thank you, Lou.
Thank you. I'll get those updates made.
We'll have a motion to approve the changes, absent the two that we have discussed.
So moved. As
Motion by Lou.
discussed.
Second, by you? Second by Roger, thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Carries 7-0. One page. Guess we're ready for, let's see. On the addendum now, 8.41, action on concrete work at the high school parking lot. Should have a bid in front of you.
Action on what now?
Action on
It's
high school concrete.
on the addendum, Lou, that we got today.
Sorry, I got too many papers on here.
It's this.
It came out. It was our extra papers.
Laura, you want to talk to us about this?
Okay, so the pad over here at the high school where there are the trash cans wasn't reinforced properly. And it would appear that the weight of those trucks has broken down that asphalt and concrete. And so James is here to answer any questions if you have specific questions, because I obviously don't know a lot about those. However, these were the three bids that were received. And so this would remove that asphalt and concrete and replace that pad out there. So one of those bids came in at $23,800, one came in at $20,388, and one came in at a flat $25,000.
Got a question, James, a couple of them. When it said 98 feet, where does the 98 feet go to? Because I went out there and measured that off today. I didn't get near 98 feet. What, are we running east-west?
We're running east and west. Where the concrete ends, right before you go into the annex there.
At the gutter?
Circle Drive,
Yeah.
and then we're gonna go up almost about straight out from where we're at now. There's a split in the asphalt. We're gonna go right in that area. We're trying to get it, what's happening is the vehicles as they come around, like the weld shop where they get the semis for the metal, the trash trucks and stuff, they got weight and they twist right there. So if we put concrete, that would stop that from moving.
Okay, but that's only half of that lane, correct? We're not doing all the way across.
We're gonna go from where they at, the annex side from the north over to the south side. Where
All the way?
Yes, where the gravel is.
Okay, what were the specs on this? Because in reading this, I can't understand because one of them has one of them has the approach. The other one does not have the approach, or the other two don't have.
The bottom one includes it if you do the math.
Right.
The top one, I can't tell, but the bottom one, if you look at that square footage of concrete and then add the parking and the approach from the second one, they're equal.
And the first guy just left it out.
Well, wait a minute. If you take, now, if you take 100 times 38, that's 3,800. But how about this one?
If you take that and add it to that, you're gonna get that. It's all
Get
counted.
that. Okay, I guess the third one then, there's nothing about reinforcing.
Correct. Those were
No, but it's all supposed to be, when I talk to them, to the people, we're wanting 6 inches of gravel underneath. And that's going to vary by what they're finding. Because there may be a little bit of, we suspect there's probably like a water puddle and, that's underneath there. And they're going to fix that. And then they'll come in and put in 6 inches of concrete, reinforced.
But the details that were included, what I did was, when the bids were turned in, that was what the contractors had on their bid. I just wrote verbatim what they turned in that they had agreed to do for that price. And so that's what we provided to you today. So,
We'll see bid 1 and 3 have nothing about reinforcement.
right, and I have the bids. It just was the way,
I mean, it's just, I'm just wondering if there was specs that were sent out to each individual, so they were all bidding apples to apples, because, I mean,
they were all told the same thing, was my understanding.
Yeah, they were all told, there was no written specs, though.
But the other concrete work that we've done this year, we've done quite a bit of concrete work. We haven't had written specs for all of that either. It's just been a verbal, so.
but we should, though. I mean, if you don't specify and tell them what you get, because,
And that's why it's really important, when they turn it back in, they're gonna tell us what they're gonna give us. You know,
well,
I mean,
he did, but
Right.
those two didn't. I
No,
mean,
they
you don't,
So you don't know what,
So should we go with that one?
So I'm good with that middle one,
Should
right?
told us what he
Yeah.
said.
it
Yes.
seems awful high to me.
and that's the
mean,
lowest
that's
of the
just
3
me.
bids, so.
The most explicit.
I agree. I go with 2.
He's pretty good.
And he's local.
Yeah, he's done other work for us.
The most detailed and the least expensive.
Right.
Any other questions before? Okay, is that a motion, David, to go?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to accept bid number 2.
One more, have a second?
Second.
Second by Lou. Any other discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign.
No,
6-1. Okay, now we move on to 8.42, which is action on aptitude.
Aptitude. And so some of you will have a book in front of you. That's for those that were not on the public relations team that had met a few times during the year. We had talked about a new platform for the app and a website. There were a couple different ones that Ben came and we visited about. This was a group that had presented as well. And the PR group felt like when we hired our new tech integration person and PR person, that they should get to look over both of those things and then select the one that they would like to use without any input, so we didn't sway them in any way. And once Matthew had a chance to look through it, he came this week and would recommend that Aptitude be the one that the district move forward with.
Now, you guys, you and Olivia, so you think this is really good?
Liked it.
We do.
And David.
Don't we,
David was on it. Yeah, right.
We do.
It was the PR's,
So,
recommendation, so.
Okay,
I'd make a motion to move forward with Aptitude.
I'll second it.
motion by David, second by Olivia. For aptitude, any other questions? Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign, carries 7-0. 8.43 is the year-end budget review. Tanya, you're up.
You guys
book, you should have a piece of paper that looks like this. And so we can discuss this in depth at the next meeting if you'd like to, but these are some of the highlights. We ended up with 600, that number, right there, at the end of the year, which we needed to transfer. And so we moved most of that into special ed because as Dale and Craig told us and showed us on paper that there are going to be significant increased costs in special ed. And we know this based on this year because our increase was 3 times as much, our increase in cost, as was our projected increase in state aid. So we felt like that would be a good place to put it. And that balance in special ed, if you look up there under Fund 30, is only slightly more than it was last year. So it's not, we did not increase it by an astronomical amount just for fun.
Tom, you might add that special ed allowances can be down $800 for full-time state teacher as well. From 30,500 to 29,800, I believe it is, or 600.
So it'll be even less money than we receive from the
Less
state.
money, state aid.
Yes. We did not transfer anything into capital outlay. The remainder of the transfers were into vocational, most of it, and then a little bit, across the ones that have dots next to them. That is what makes up the 15% of our operating expenses. Now, how operating expenses are defined are our general fund plus our supplemental general. And 15% is the guideline that they give us that is safe. It is safe to have cash balances, unencumbered cash balances, to be 15%. It was 14, but our final legal mat switch came out June 12th or something, was a little less than what we had anticipated. So that made our percentage higher. Does anybody have any questions? The second one, we purchased all the requisitions for 1920 that we had on file. I can't tell you at this moment how much that was. I just know that we did. And I can have that information for you at our next meeting if you would like. I'm actually very pleased with these numbers. That's my job, and I am excited about these. So next year, we're going to be audited on our at-risk numbers. And these are significantly less than they were last year. We are spending our money, and we are using it for evidence-based requirements. And I don't know what you guys are seeing there, but I'm seeing a job well done.
I got a question here. How much bond debt? Do I understand it's done next
September 2020.
September
of 2020.
September of 2020 is when we make our last payment. However, when we go up to speak with Craig and review our budget, we have to have 18 months of planning in our budget that they will look at. And we actually talked with them specifically at our budget meeting last week. And we're going to take our bond information up there and review it and make sure that where we stand and what we need. And there's some things that he wants to look at specifically about it. Maybe.
Now, is this air conditioning roof deal that we didn't pay any extra on that, but we can pay ahead? Is that correct?
We paid off our middle school boilers.
No.
But you're talking about the rooftop unit?
Okay, so that was
The company.
I'm talking about that company that we have the large,
The 2031.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
Oh, okay, the energy.
Yeah.
The energy.
yes, energy roof deal.
Okay. We can talk about that.
No, but we didn't pay any off, so
No,
I'm
we
asking.
didn't.
No, we did not. We did not pay
Okay.
any
We did
extra.
not.
We did not.
I don't think we have the money to look at this.
No, I was just looking through it.
You were wanting to maybe make a advance payment.
Oh,
on
no,
that.
just if we had some, if there was some in the future, because
We could.
pretty good size. What are we at, 1 point?
With contingency, our contingency reserve fund is right where it was last year.
Yeah, our contingency reserve fund is right where it was last
And
year.
and the same with our capital outlay.
Capital outlay, we have done a good job of spending in that.
The buses.
come out.
The buses came out of
That's
that.
where most of that
So
went.
that's where a lot of that went. But
Yes.
there's,
And I will have detailed expenditures at our next meeting, if you would like to see them.
Okay.
talk about it at the budget meeting. Kind of move.
Any other questions, Tanya?
Anybody?
Job well done.
Thank you.
Okay, we're now ready for 8.5, executive session, discuss personnel matters. Personnel, 15 minutes ought to do it. If somebody else has anything to bring up?
I got a few, not much.
Under 20?
Yeah.
Better go 20.
20 minutes. The motion from Roger? Is it?
I so move. Sorry.
One second, just 1 second, though. Just to be consistent with the law, make sure what our motions are. Okay. What are the topics that you want to talk about? Because they need to be in the motion. If it's not confidential employee information pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under COMA, then it's not in this motion. So if you've got something other than confidential employee information, like
Personnel.
it's personnel? Okay. All right.
The motion is to go into executive session for 20 minutes to discuss confidential employee information pursuant to non-elected personnel exception under COMA
Okay.
at, let's call it, what we got here? 7, let's call it 7, everybody okay to go right on? 7:12.
7:12, yeah.
7:12 for 20 minutes with the board, superintendent, and the assistant superintendent in the session. Return at 7:32. The motion is by Roger.
Second.
The second is by Jeff. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. We are in go into executive session.
Okay, you'll turn off your microphone.
Okay, we're back on, we're back in session. We're ready for item 8.6, action on personnel.
All right. We've got one resignation for employment, Tamara Harris, as high school secretary.
Come on.
Oh, and then we've got recommendations for employment. Tricia Bolden, bus driver, Eric Lyons, middle school sixth grade math teacher, Sharon Blackburn, food service coordinator, Roger Daniels, high school ISS supervisor, Elizabeth Smith, middle school math and ELL aide, Mary Willis, middle school aide. I'd recommend that you approve both this resignation and these recommendations for employment.
So moved.
Motion by Lou. Second. Second by Roger. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion carries 7-0. 8.7, action on supplemental assignments. You have those all in your packet. There's several of them. And we'll take those all at one time unless anybody wants to break anything out.
And someone did ask about the asterisks. So if you'll go through and you see some asterisks by names, that means that they are new to the assignment this year. So,
Any discussion? Any questions? If not, accept a motion to approve all the supplemental assignments.
So moved.
Second?
Motion by Lou, second by Joanne to approve all supplemental assignments. Any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Carries 7-0. 8.8, Board of Education request. Anybody have any requests? If not, meeting is adjourned. 7:33.
thank you.
Where
are we gonna start doing the property?
This Wheel of Fortune has been going.
He has, and David.
When you're older, that's what you
Oh, yeah, we watch that every night.
I do too.
James has given.
I don't want to